That song. Now that is a song I haven't heard in a long time. In everyone's lifetime, there are a few games that stand out above the rest. The games we carry with us. The games we edge into every conversation if the moment ever arises. For me, just some of those games would be the likes of Halo, Banjo-Kazooie, Zelda, and Republic Commando. It actually shocks me when I'm speaking with someone and they relate to me that they've never actually played or heard of this game. And when they ask me what it's like, I return and ask them this. Have you ever wanted to play a Halo game set inside the Star Wars universe? Well, that's Republic Commando. I love Halo, but as I've said before on the channel so many times, one of my other great loves is Star Wars. So imagine the delight of 10-year-old Soup getting his hands on the game that combined the two. And not just combined them, but combined them well. Republic Commando released in February of 2005, just 3 short months after the launch of Halo 2. And if you're a seasoned Halo fan, you would know that this is right around the time of peak Halo popularity. And when it was released, it was exclusive to the Xbox and Windows PC platforms. So not only is it like Halo in a lot of ways, but it was exclusive to those very same platforms that Halo was exclusive to as well. It's also really interesting to note that Republic Commando was not just delivered to fans at the peak of Halo popularity, but also arguably at the peak of LucasArts as well. In the surrounding time frame, LucasArts was its own Star Wars video game publishing company. This is long before EA ever got their hands on the Star Wars license. And LucasArts cranked out a lot of Star Wars games. Around the year of Republic Commando being released, we also saw the likes of LEGO Star Wars, Episode 3 film and video game, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and a little game called Star Wars Battlefront 2. To say that Xbox and LucasArts were firing at all cylinders around this time would be an understatement. So what better way to capitalize this prime time than to make a game that combined it all? In Republic Commando, you take the helm of 3-8, or Boss as his squad calls him. 3-8 is the leader of the bunch. You know him well! And as the leader, you, the player, get to use his command tactics and strategies to take down those filthy clankers and buggers. Alongside 3-8, you will have the rest of Delta Squad. 4-0, your reliable and uncomplicated soldier, often regarded by the name of Fixer. He plays by the book and does things right the first time. Delta Squad relies on his know-how for computer slicing and terminal access. 6-2, or Scorch, is the wisecracking tension relief often needed in the squad. While extremely capable at combat, munitions, and explosives, Scorch has a host of one-liners and comedy jabs to keep the good times rolling throughout your journey. He is by far my personal favorite Commando, and is host to one of my favorite lines in the entire game.
Was red, red, green, or red, green, red?
And he's supposed to be the demolition expert.
07, Sev is the fierce one, the hunter. Think Emil from Halo Reach in more ways than just the sick helmets that they both have. Each clone commando is genetically modified and enhanced to be better than any other soldier out there. Similar to the Spartan program in Halo, just not as ludicrously powerful. But you'll need all of the strength you can muster to fight against the massive army of the CIS droids, Genosians, and more. The game is a linear first-person shooter where your squad is dropped into the thickness and heat of battle and tasked with the impossible missions that only a clone commando can do. The game does rely on you knowing a little bit about the movies, as this game did lead up to the release of Star Wars Episode 3, but it's not crucial that you've seen any of the movies. If you are a fan of Halo and you don't know much about Star Wars going in, then this game's introduction pretty much paints a decent picture of the story and the stakes at hand. And honestly, that's what Halo fans are used to. We didn't have much of an idea going into Combat Evolved for the first time, so we just buckled up and prepared for the ride. And it's no problem doing the same thing here. But introductions aren't where the similarities stop here. As you can tell by the shown gameplay, the pace, the action, and the scenery is all pretty Halo as well. Take your clone commandos for example. They are fairly different than the average Phase 1 clone troopers that you see in the movies and in the shows, and while I can't find it expressly stated anywhere, I would put money on the design of these clone commandos intentionally and heavily being based on the appearance of early Spartan armor. And it's not just the clones that get a change to their looks, even the battle droids are made to look more gritty and worn. And while I do get a little miffed that canonically the droid change in appearance doesn't make a whole lot of sense, as you never see masses of gray droids in the movies, the change to this appearance was to again make the whole world feel more gritty and intense. And it worked really well. This change to the traditional Star Wars aesthetic let the players know that this game was more edgy and way more of a rough experience. You weren't playing LEGO Star Wars. You weren't going to be a Jedi slicing through hordes of enemies with little effort. In this game, you are a soldier, and however competent your squad might be, you were the ones with boots on the ground getting your hands extremely dirty. You had no force powers to rely on, and for the characters involved, the stakes were extremely high. A B1 battle droid was an average opponent, but a B2 battle droid was a fearsome sight, let alone anything else you might encounter. Every encounter could mean life or death for your squad. This game also sticks to a lot of enemy tropes you might find in the Halo series. B1 battle droids are easy kills that are more strong in numbers but can easily be taken out one at a time. And it's great that they also add a little bit of comedy relief, just like the grunts in Halo. Geonosians are very similar to elites. They're quick, agile, and can give you a run for your money. B2 battle droids are similar to that of the brutes, but less aggro and more range, so think more like Halo 3 brutes in gameplay respects. There are more enemies found in the later parts of the game, but I don't want to spoil anything as the last act of this game is incredible and has some big tie-ins to the surrounding Star Wars universe. But it also has one of the most annoying and unjust cliffhangers in all of my gamer memory. It makes me quite sad actually. It's fine though. I'm fine. I'm not crying. But back to the enemies. What you have to take these opponents down is what you brought with you, and weapons and ammo you find along the way. Just like in Halo, Republic Commando puts you in a sandbox scenario and tells you to figure it out. Will you ask Sev to take the sniping post and take the shot, or will you as the player do it, freeing up your comrade to fight those all around you? Will you get to a Bacta station in the middle of a combat to heal up, or will you turn back to the enemy, risking dying in the process? Luckily, if you or a team member is ever down, the revive mechanic has your back. It's nice if you get caught off guard and get downed that your squad can be tasked with coming to get you back up. Or you can tell them to maintain their current orders. But let me tell you, the answer isn't always clear here. And the game is pretty punishing. I can't tell you how many times I've been downed and I command a member of my squad to come revive me, only to have them out of position and now our whole squad is down. Sometimes patience is required. Rely on your squad to take out the enemy, then get everyone up again after the fight is done. But man, when they fail at doing that and your squad still dies, it feels bad. But speaking of squad commands, this game does it really well. Even for the 16-year-old game that it is, this game knows which squad member needs healing the most, or the right member to do the job at hand. And while it shows its age sometimes with not registering your commands exactly right, 99% of the time, it still holds up pretty well. In fact, you can see a lot of these same commands and ideas in the Halo 5 Guardians gameplay as well. There's a really good reason for this. Tim Longo was the creative director for both games. The man should be praised for bringing such good mechanics to both franchises. Not only are there similarities in mechanics, but in combat as well. Assault rifles, handguns, and snipers, they all feel very similar across both Republic Commando and Halo. Although one of my favorite weapons is the Geonosian laser rifle. That gun still has the bugger's hand in it when you're using it. Not only is that pretty dang sick, but it's a fantastic weapons against those B2 battle droids. These weapons are all present in Republic Commando's multiplayer as well. The multiplayer in this game is good. This is where the similarities to Halo are more easily seen. For better or for worse, I think that if Republic Commando was a multiplayer only game, not as much would set this game apart as its own game. Yes, there are tons of similarities in the campaign, like I've spoken about a lot so far, but the story is what helps the game feel like its own, and separate from Halo despite how much inspiration was clearly taken from Combat Evolved when the game was starting to be developed. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that these inspirations are bad. I think they're awesome, but this game is a fantastic game in its own right, and the multiplayer just doesn't help you see as much of the game as the story does. If I wanted to play a Halo multiplayer game, I'll just play a Halo game, but show me an awesome story in the Star Wars galaxy that's similar to Halo, then I'm all in. So we've talked about the similarities, let's get into a little bit of the differences from Halo, because there are some big differences actually between Republic Commando and what Halo was doing at the time. First of all, while both franchises are of science fiction in nature, Star Wars is very different than Halo in general, and that aids Republic Commando and the story it's trying to tell. Star Wars story beats, music, and characters all have their very unique charm to them. The story in the game is very Star Wars all around. Big, giant set pieces with major galactic conflict raging around you, while Halo Combat Evolved was a much more isolated and personal experience. One could say it's more like Halo 2 in those regards, but you have to remember that this game started its development around the same time Halo 2 did, and the similarities between these two games can be chalked up to sheer coincidence. Republic Commando is also act and chapter based. In Combat Evolved, the entirety of events in the game takes place within a few days. The events of Republic Commando, however, we're talking the span of several years. The music is undoubtedly Star Wars as well, sweeping scores of bombastic orchestras that let the player feel like they're taking part of this conflict raging across the stars. And while some tunes are from the movies and are clearly here in the game as well, Republic Commando does a really good job at introducing new scores as well. I still get chills when that menu screen starts up and that theme song hits. So yes, the music in this game is unique to Star Wars and incredible at that. Not only is it memorable, but it will plainly get stuck in your head and you'll be humming the theme music wherever you are when you see something that reminds you of Delta Squad. Delta Squad is also a major defining factor as to what sets this game apart. Whereas in Halo you play as Master Chief and it's a solo operation most of the way, in Republic Commando, your squad is each a part of a whole person, and teamwork is critical. Each member adds something to the gameplay and experience. It's not just an isolated experience like Combat Evolved. It's a game that demonstrates the power of teamwork, self-sacrifice, and brotherhood. All of themes that kind of aren't in the original Halo games. You also have to remember that Delta Squad are just background characters in the grand scheme of things, and trust me, the last act of the game loves to remind you of that. Your missions as Delta Squad, while pivotal and important, you play as a soldier and team that the entirety of the Republic doesn't even know their names. Now, you may walk away from all of this and say something like, dang, too bad this game doesn't mean anything anymore since Disney took over Star Wars. Now these characters aren't even canon anymore. Well, check this out. Yeah, that's right, that's Delta Squad in Clone Wars Season 3, Episode 14. After Disney took over Lucasfilm, so yeah, Delta Squad is still canon, and while their game is in limbo, I have hope that one day the game will be confirmed as canon. You see, this year, we're gonna get a show called Bad Batch. Bad Batch is a sequel to the fantastic Star Wars Clone Wars series, and also centered around another Clone Commando unit in the midst of the Empire's rise. So it's my hope that Bad Batch just might encounter Delta Squad along their journey. Wishful thinking and highly unlikely, I know, but I can hope. Regardless, there is still more for Delta Squad's future and their story, if Disney ever decided to bring them back into the public's eye. We all need a little bit more Halo Star Wars in our lives. Until next time, I'll see you online. Vanilla Soup, out.